Okay, this is some of my thoughts on Luke chapter 23, verse 34, when Jesus says, "Then Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." Now, if you can see, I have this underlined and lines connecting who the them are. Who's Jesus praying for? Forgive them, for they do not know what they do. Now, in English, the rule of antithesis, we would go back to see who it is that the them or the they are, right? And so the verse before that, well, we'll read two verses before that. Verse 32, there were also two others, criminals, led with him to be put to death. And when they had come to the place called Calvary, they were crucified. There they crucified him and the criminals, one on the right hand and the other on the left. Then Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. Now, the antithesis would imply that it is the criminals who Jesus is asking his Father to forgive. Now, when we read the next sentence in that verse, and they divided his garments and cast lots. I got a line there. Who is the they? The criminals and the executioners, right? Okay, so that being said, let me see if I can do this here. I thought I could do it the other way. With that being said, it seems that Jesus is not praying for the Pharisees or the collective Jews, right? Or the Jews collectively. Now, I understand that the early church, all Jewish. I get it. But when we keep reading, what do we see? Okay, first of all, you've got a high priest in Jesus. Now, when Jesus prays for you, that prayer is answered. You see what I'm saying? Hang on one second. Okay, that when Jesus prays for you, that prayer is answered. For example, Peter, hey, Peter, Satan asked to sift you as wheat, but fear not, I prayed for you, right? And we all know the apostle, right, was brought back into the fold, became the leader of the church. Okay. So anyways, here we've got these two groups that Jesus could be praying for, right? Because contextually speaking, the antithesis is the criminals, right? And the second group would be right after them, the executioners. So what happens? Well, we keep reading. We know that one of the criminals becomes what? Pretty much, he's saved, isn't he? Because he's in paradise that day. He's in paradise, right? Verily, verily, I say unto you, today you will be with me in paradise. Okay. Bam, like fairly quickly. Okay. So Jesus prayed for that group, the criminals, right? And then we see that. Now, what about the executioners? Well, after he dies, what happens? Do you remember the centurion saying, oh, this was the Son of God? And so he believes. And so it's interesting. Now, I'm not trying to say who goes to heaven and who doesn't, really. I mean, it's kind of obvious with this, here, especially with the with the criminal. I mean, he's definitely, went to paradise, but the centurion, he believed as well. And so it's very interesting because I've heard it for years, quite some time, that they said, look, Jesus is praying for everybody. No, he's not. He's not. And here's why he's not. Because AD 70, that's why. 40 years later, what happens? Yeah, they all get destroyed, right? And it's very interesting because you had the Pharisees, when they had a chance to free Jesus, when it came down to, okay, I'm going to release Jesus or Barabbas, who did they choose? Yeah, they chose Barabbas. And so then they said what? Well, let his guilt or blood be on our hands and our heads and on our kids too. Okay, well, that's exactly what happened, didn't it? The next generation, 40 years later, boom. That's when it started, and then it culminated in AD 70, right? So like around 64 AD, that's when the Romans started setting up their siege and everything like that. So, and then ultimate destruction for them during that time was AD 70. So there you have it. I don't think Jesus was praying for everybody in that specific verse. And then furthermore, just to add this, do any of you remember why Jesus spoke in parables? Well, the answer is so that those people wouldn't believe. Yes, he actually says that. Look it up. Jesus spoke in parables so that these people, especially the Pharisees, would not understand and therefore turn and repent and so be saved. Now, that seems harsh. Some people may be like, well, I don't know if that's in there. Oh, buddy, it's in there. It is in there literally. Now, you also have to understand this happened right after they committed the unpardonable sin. So I think that clears it up. They commit the unpardonable sin, and then Parable City, but baby, Parable City. And then privately, he explains the parables to his disciples. You remember reading that? Okay. Anyways, that's all I got. God bless you and be a blessing to others. Thanks. Bye.